There is an agenda for this meeting, yes. Yeah. Yes, there's Griselle, you want to make the call? Oh, you told her? Okay, thanks.
Okay. So we call to order the October 14, 2025 City Council Study Session, and we will start with roll call, please.
Councilmember Aguayo.
Here.
Councilmember Delgadillo.
Present.
Councilmember Quer Stallings. Vice Mayor Olmos.
Here.
Mayor Lemons.
Here.
All present.
Do we have any public comments?
No, Madam Mayor, we don't.
Old business is a receive and file item on the report on the short-term rentals.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Actually, we do would like some direction from you on this item. This is a follow-up to previously presented item a couple of months back. The council requested more time to study this and to ask questions, so that's what we're doing this afternoon. While short-term rentals definitely have a business enterprising feature to them, they also may have quality of life impacts to our neighborhoods, as we had mentioned to you in the last time we brought this before you. So this should definitely be a factor when considering whether to allow them in the city, and that's what we're asking for you tonight. So as you previously heard, not many cities around us actually allow short-term rentals. We have a survey you saw at the last meeting. It's back again. So John King, our Planning and Building Director, will tell you more about this. John.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Mayor Lemons and council members. So I just have a portion of the presentation from last time, just kind of a recap, and then we'll get some background, a little more background for you, and then to help you make your decision. So a reminder: short-term housing rentals, that's renting part of a home or the entire home for 30 days or less. And it was September 9th. You had a little overview. And here in Paramount, there aren't too many going on. We did a few looks, little snippets of time, and at this time, this range between December 1st and December 8th, there were about 4 or 5 rentals on the market with one service. And the all in all, not just this time, but looking a little bit backward, a little bit forward, they're averaging about $207 a night for a stay. Right now, they're prohibited. Short-term rentals are prohibited in Paramount. They are outright a little more explicitly prohibited in the ADU part of the code, accessory dwelling units, and junior ADUs, and that's by state law. The state does not allow cities to have folks rent out their ADUs for short-term rentals. It's not explicitly in the code, so that's part of our discussions. It's not allowed, so we treat it as not permitted, as we do with any use that's not listed in the code. You have, however, you've approved through the last year and a half, a few developments that do explicitly include that prohibition. So the 10 units by Iceland, the skating rink, the 4 units at the former firehouse location, now under construction on Colorado. And then upcoming, the Habitat for Humanity project on Hunsaker, and the soon to start 17-unit development on Paramount. And here's the survey that you saw last time. Our surrounding cities, it was interesting to find out that none of them allow short-term rentals. And we asked about what about major events? What about the Olympics coming up? Any thoughts on that, of changing the rules? And they do not, at this point, they do not anticipate any changes. So kind of status quo. We looked at the pros and cons. So on the left of this list are the pros for allowing short-term rentals if you were to choose to legitimize them, and the cons are on the right side. So just gonna quickly go over that. The pros would be helping out homeowners, give them a little extra income. They might maybe they have a cousin they could stay with while they rent out their home a couple days a month. So and they would benefit with that. That would help them upgrade their homes, give a little curb appeal to the neighborhood. It might bring in a little bit of revenue. So we do have an ordinance on the books for hotels, which would extend to short-term rentals, 10%. It's a 10% tax. Governor Newsom just signed a bill, SB 346, kind of hot off the presses. So the governor signed it, and that bill will help cities track short-term rentals. So they've been very secretive, very mysterious about where they are and how often they're rented out. But with this law, the idea is to have a little sunlight so cities can better track and regulate. So even if a city allows them or not, you want to know where they are. So for maybe for enforcement issues, or if you do allow them, to track them for revenue. And those major events, the Olympics, the World Cup next year, there would be a need for, you have international visitors, they'll need a place to stay, so it could be helpful. On the other side, the cons, why would a city not want to legalize short-term rentals? Main thing is, the biggest thing is that we're hearing about is housing, permanent housing. So you're taking away a home that would be rented to a family that would want to stay in Paramount. So they'd have to look elsewhere where that home is transformed to a vacation rental. So rather than a permanent home, it's a vacation rental. And the neighborhood issues that John mentioned. So other cities and what we've seen, and here in Paramount, we have had code enforcement cases, neighbors complaining about parking, already limited parking, so it's strained already, and now you have extra visitors that are making it worse. Issues of noise, they can become party homes, and just general nuisances. Onto the revenue. So yes, we could get revenue, but likely that extra funds would go toward the permitting, would go toward the enforcement, would go toward possibly helping housing assistance for other types of programs. So not much of a gain on the revenue side. Could be as far as the bill that was recently signed into law. We're hearing that the like Airbnb, the larger companies, they're ready to challenge that legally. So not quite sure what they have to hide, but they see it as an infringement on their information. And getting to the next slide, and a reminder: we had very compelling testimony from a resident last time. She described herself as a 3-year Airbnb host, a super host. She has a single family home, and she kind of flipped. She had spoken in the spring, early spring, in support of short-term rentals, but she's changed her mind. And you'll remember that she explained that she now agrees with our stance on prohibiting short-term rentals. She mentioned the need for regular cleaning, disinfecting, and monitoring that was more than she expected. Violations, this is her words, noisy parties, excessive drug and alcohol use, including cocaine, including marijuana and cocaine, disruptions to neighbors, and unauthorized smoking and vaping. She mentioned on her listing she does not allow smoking, but people would still smoke. She'd have to clean that up. So all in all, on balance, our recommendation is to maintain the prohibition and to develop a clear ordinance to more explicitly state the ban on short-term rentals, and with that, continue conducting enforcement on unpermitted short-term rentals as they come up. It is as we mentioned, it's a complex issue. So we, in light of that, we have some other options, but that is our clear recommendation. Our staff recommendation is to maintain, for the sake of the neighborhoods, sake of housing supply and housing availability, housing affordability, and looking at our neighbors, our neighboring cities. It would not be unusual to prohibit short-term rentals. So, kind of leave it at that. And if you have any questions, we'll discuss it.
Do we have questions, comments, discussion? Ms. Olmos?
Yes,
Vice
Madam
Mayor
Mayor. Yes,
Olmos.
Madam Mayor. Can we go back to the slide where we talked about the third slide back? I just have a couple of questions. Go, one more. Right there. So additional revenue to the city. You said it would be business license 10% tax. Is that what you said?
It's a separate tax. It's separate from business license, but it would be tied to the business license. It would go in conjunction.
Does this go back to now with that new process that we're meaning that renters have to pay like this business tax?
You mean landlords pay the business?
Yeah,
tax? Yeah.
correct.
No, it's something entirely different. So if I'm not mistaken, the business license for a short-term rental is a different rate than what a landlord would pay for that is, say, rents out their home. Say they have an investment home.
Right.
Their rate for the business license tax is different than a short-term rental.
But is this additional revenue to the city
Yes.
separate from that, additional
Yes.
to, or is it two separate things?
Well, two separate things. So it would be if you want to allow short-term rentals.
Right.
Then we would open it up and then people would start, having short-term rentals. We would charge them a business license and we would get more revenue from that.
And presently,
Does that make sense?
That tax, it's a transient occupancy tax. It's 10%. Now, you could change that. Cities change it upward. They might add what do they call like a room, tourist surcharge. You could add surcharges, but right now it's 10%.
So that's what you called it, the transient tax?
TOT, transient.
TOT, there it is.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess, does that make sense, you guys? So I think that there's a TOT, and then there's now something that the city's implementing that if you are a landlord, there's a business license you need to take out that would, it's like not a lot of revenue. It's like, but it's just an addition to this, right? Am I right? There's,
In addition
okay.
to that.
Yeah, they would be different.
Correct.
Yeah, short-term, long-term rentals. They actually, charging property owners to rent properties, I thought was something we always had, required a business license. We're just enforcing it now.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah,
It's-
right?
For 4 units or
So
more,
this
right?
would be
Yeah, it's usually for multiple units where someone is clearly in the business of renting property rather than just, renting out their
But
home.
with our new business license tax measure that went to the ballot, it included anybody and everybody that has a rental property, even if it's a
Yeah, if
single-family
they
home.
rented it, and that was always my
Yeah.
understanding, when they would come to the Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, got
They
it.
had property, that's what the city had told us, yes, that if they're doing it as an income, it requires a business license tax, a business license.
Madam Mayor, would short-term rental be 30 days only? That's the short-term rental?
That she was stating, the woman who spoke to us, that
Yeah.
she would only do a 30-day.
Okay.
Before she was doing, even if it was just like 5 days, 10 days, whatever.
Okay.
But if we were going to do something with it, her suggestion would be that you do a minimum of 30
A
days.
minimum, okay.
Because she had found problems with the short-term rental.
Okay.
I would just, if I may, I would add that if you went that route, you don't have to do anything. That's in
Yeah,
existence.
exactly.
It's just status quo.
Yeah, except for, okay, you said that you don't have to do anything if it stays the way it is.
For 30
Well, we are recommending a more clarifying ordinance prohibiting it, but as far as the revenue side, you wouldn't have to do anything.
Yeah. So, I just, my feeling on it at this point is I don't think that the pros outweigh the cons. She was the first kind of experienced one that we had speak in the city, and she had some issues herself, and kind of familiar with where her property is, and it's a really nice property. So it seems to me when people rent these, and I have rented houses before, I guess that would be an Airbnb. You're on vacation, and generally you're going to have a good time and party, and I just don't know as densely populated as we are, because where I've been was in the desert, and the houses are kind of far apart, and I don't think that they're good party houses, and I think that's the main reason that people have them for vacation, and they're there to have a good time. They're probably not going to be little mousy, quiet people, and especially with, the sheriff's recent comments about party enforcement and the priority and the deputy shortage and all that, I don't see a great benefit to it. Do you guys want to have any input in anything else? Brenda, you have something else to say?
I'm a huge user of Airbnbs, and I think you're right. I think each city really has their rules. I mean, there's bedtime, like at 10, you can't make noises, and I've rented houses that have been close to each other, yeah, for party, I mean, to go out and hang out with my cousins. So I think each city, again, the way they monitor it is, I'm sure, different. I think it would be a great idea if we could do something like this, but I just kind of think that our city is kind of like too little. I mean, is that the right word to say? It's just like, it's too dense
Too
in a
densely
sense.
populated,
you
and
know.
maybe, just demographically doesn't fit us.
Yeah, I mean, my thing, I brought this up, I think, because of the Olympics, because of what's going to be happening in our city surrounding us. If there was opportunity for some of our residents to, to make, a little income on a house that's not being rented out or whatnot. But, yeah, this one's a hard for me. I'm kind of like on the fence, I think, with it, so.
Yeah, I'm a huge user of, same thing, but just looking at, again, just the size of our city and the density, and even rentals, I mean, if you look around, there isn't really that many rentals in Paramount to begin with. So I mean, this is definitely a tough one, but yeah, maybe just not right now, I mean.
So I have a question, though, because you just brought up something. So right now, I've noticed that there's like a lot more houses for sale in Paramount. I mean, literally in my neighborhood, there's 3 that have just went up for sale within the last 2 weeks. So how are we protected that a developer or somebody might purchase that house to, you know what I mean, to turn it into a possible Airbnb, because these are really nice houses,
Yeah, yeah. Well, if they're on the market for sale, yeah, somebody could, without us knowing.
Right.
Purchase it, unless you have any ideas, John, on how, I mean, we would just check Airbnb, right? Monthly.
That's hard, right?
That's,
I mean,
that's the idea behind the bill that was passed.
Yeah.
So if they can get through any resistance from those companies, then it would be a valuable tool for code enforcement. I would believe.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just thought, I'm just like, I've noticed.
That's a good point, very good point.
Yeah. Well, it's just like the developers, who are buying right now, to put the four houses on a
units on
lot.
there.
Yeah. I
They
mean,
tear down
and
the
there's
one unit.
nothing to stop them from doing that. Airbnbs, I would assume, for the most part, it would just be advertisement or a complaint from a neighbor, which is, I think, what happened in the one instance that we had. Somebody complained about it. But, yeah, I don't think you can prohibit a developer from purchasing.
Because I've heard about R&Bs being in bigger cities and having a lot of problems with them, or they buy the home and they rent it out that way. I'm not in favor, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not either. Maybe it's just
Not
not
at
the
this
time
time.
and place, Madam
Not this
Mayor.
time, Peggy.
Okay, so I'm hearing, unless you want to vote on it, a consensus that we would, now, you're asking if we want you to draft something specifically prohibiting Airbnbs, correct?
That is right.
And so my understanding is that's what we would want you to do. Is that correct direction from
Yes.
everybody here? Is that the consensus?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, well, we'll come back then with an ordinance for your approval. Thank you.
With that, we'll move on to new business, which is revenue enhancement measures.
Yes, Madam Mayor, at the goal-setting session in January, this is the city council directed as one of their goals to look at measures to enhance revenue, which is good foresight, because when we put the budget together a few months later, we started to see a future structural deficit, on the horizon. So it is extremely important, I can't emphasize it enough I'm not exaggerating, that we take action. We have potential solutions to address the structural deficit this afternoon. We have shared this with you recently, so much of what you're about to see is not new, but since this is such an important issue that will help chart the course for the city's future, I wanted to make sure that you have plenty of time to study this as a group, ask questions as a group, and provide direction to staff on this. So that's what we're here, that's what we're after today, direction from the council on which revenue enhancement option or options you wish us to pursue. So just to be clear, your direction today is not the final decision. Your direction is the start of many steps along the way that will be taken before anything is formally voted on, before it would go to the voters. Once you give us direction today on which option to pursue, the next step will be to hire a firm to conduct polling, which could take a few months. So those poll results will be presented to the city council. At that time, further direction from the council, or an entirely different direction could be given to staff. The point is, again, that this is a slow process, but we just need a direction at this time. The presentation that you're about to see has not changed much since you last saw it. We're going to start with why we need the additional revenue, and that's costs are going up. Then we'll explain where our needs lie, and that's in public safety and infrastructure, namely local streets and major boulevards in our industrial and commercial areas of town. And then we're going to end with 4 revenue enhancements options and the characteristics of each of those options. So with that, I want to turn it over to our finance director, Ms. Lana Deach, to walk you through the item. Lana.
Before you begin, Lana, I just have a question,
Sure.
John. So when we had this presentation in our 221s, it was pretty long.
Yes.
Yeah, and we only have.
An hour, about, 5:30. If we're done by 5:30, that's about when people start showing up.
Okay, but what I want mostly is time for discussion.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, how long do you think the actual presentation runs?
About 20 minutes?
About 20 minutes?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Good afternoon, mayors and council members. Why is it necessary for the city to have a revenue enhancement study? So there's a couple of things. One of which that, as John mentions, that through the preparation of 2024-26 budget, we also prepare a long-range financial forecast, which is revealed that a structural deficit. A structural deficit is not a 1 year's deficit. It's a consistent and persistent deficit over a long period of time. Revenue tax, especially sales tax, are declining over time. Costs of outpacing existing revenue streams. Based on the past 5 years crime data, there are growing public safety demands. Critical infrastructure, including street, roads, and public facilities, are aging and underfunded. Essential services require stable and consistent funding source. Federal and state reliefs are now phasing out. In some cases, federal grants are being clawed back. Without additional revenue source, the cities may face service reductions. Or worse, we may have to increase fees that directly impacts our residents. You have seen this before. This is general revenue expenditures outlook. The red slice is our expenditures, and the blue represents our revenues. The dotted area represents the status projections. There's a couple of assumptions that I want to talk about. As far as revenue is concerned, it's increased based on federal, state, and local cap. However, expenditures is a little bit different. It's based on historical experience, operational growth, market conditions, and inflationary pressures. We also assume that by 2027, there's no investment in capital projects and new programs. And
Lana, can I interrupt you for just a moment? Can you crank up her mic, please?
Thank you.
As you can see from the graph, can you hear me better?
No, more. She's very soft-spoken.
Right. As you can see from the graphs, the deficits gap is getting wider and wider. By 2034, the city may face 5 million or more of deficits gap. Our largest contract is syrup contracts. In 2025, it cost the city about 7 million. Now it costs about 11.2 million. By 2035, you see its cost closer to 16 million. This is the last 5 years' major costs. There are two major costs I want to point out, which is generals, engineering, and CIP's costs that increased by 227%. The two components, inflationary and additional projects are being done. When those projects are completed, you see a decrease in those costs. Landscaping maintenance costs increase due to the additional specialized landscaping contracts that was added. Over the past 12 years, the city's invested 157 millions, of which 60 millions came from the general fund. Starting from fiscal year 2015, there are little of investments in capital projects, and it started picking up in fiscal year 21 after Measure Wise was approved. Between 21 and 24, those are the expenditures that the staff are comfortable with in maintaining street and road and facilities before its age and cost the city more. 2025 and 26, those are a lot more projects are being added, but the city will not be able to keep up with those projects and costs on an ongoing basis. The city is surrounded by 3 major highways, 91, 710, and 105. To get to the industry areas and other local governments, trucks are relying heavily on 4 arterials: Garfield, Rosecrans, and Somersets, and Alondras. Based on 2022's Caltrans data, there are 21 trucks pass by Garfield on a daily basis. As such, a major streets are deteriorates at a faster rate, and it requires additional investments. That is an example of one of the major streets that deteriorated. As far as cities' crimes, residential crimes decreased by 25%, whereas business-related increased by 61%. That is another reason that public safety efforts are needed in the business area. Some may ask that, well, we recently passed Measure LR, why do we need another tax? Just a quick reminder, Measure LR is meant to modernize the outdated tax structure. It did not raise tax on residents. Those, we estimate that it will generate additional $350,000 on an annual basis, but it's far from enough to close the budget gap. Today, I would like to discuss the 4 options that staff have reviewed. But before we go into the various options, let's take a look at our last 10 years' revenue histories in 4 major groups. As far as user fees, it's volatile, but it's sensitive to service demands. As a participant, I get to pick and choose which program that I want to participate, or maybe not. However, utility user tax, franchise tax, business license tax, and sales tax are volatile and sensitive to consumer behaviors, economic cycle, and external influence. For example, let's say if a business closeout directly impact your business license, so is utility user tax and sales tax. The more stabilized source that we're seeing is property tax. You can see the graph from the far right-hand side is more stabilized and is predictable. That is one of the reliable source. Let's examine the first options, cannabis tax and revenues. We estimate that cannabis tax will bring in between $250,000 to $1 million. That is highly dependent on populations, market demands, and the number of licenses that city willing to issue, and the activities that the cities want to regulate. Cannabis tax is a general tax, so it can come back to fund essential city services. For permitting and regulating land use, it only requires council approval through changing of ordinance. However, any additional new tax will require voter approval through a ballot measure. So based on CDTFA's data, it's not on here, but I want to point out that the data suggests that cannabis tax peaks in cannabis tax or cannabis activities peak during the pandemics, As we came out of the pandemic, we see a huge drops, and now it's leveling out. And a couple of key considerations for cannabis-related activities that it may and it could impact public safety effort, youth accessibility, and land use. And this already highly taxed. Any additional tax would add additional burden to vendors.
Alana, before you go on, Madam Mayor, if I could just interject too. At the Chamber of Commerce Board meeting yesterday, I brought up that the council will be considering revenue enhancement measures, just to let the Chamber Board know what, obviously what's going on. And, a number of the measures I mentioned, sales tax, cannabis, things like that. One of the board members is actually a real estate broker for industrial and commercial space, Matt Wagner. And he said that, are you guys looking at cultivation grow houses? And I said, well, yeah, that's right. I'm not sure the council's pulse on retail, because there's a lot of dispensaries around us already. But yeah, cultivation, he goes, that's a lose-lose right now. He goes, nobody is growing anymore indoors. He said they're growing out in like Ventura County, Kern County, on farms, because it's so much cheaper to use the sun as your primary source than Edison power bills. It's a lot cheaper. He said, we used to rent out to people that would then turn it into a grow house without us knowing, and we, the sheriffs would come and pop them, and then, we would have to kick them out. He goes, that's not happening anymore, because they just aren't using warehousing to grow them anymore. So it's all being done out on farms. So I thought that was interesting and very timely for our discussion today. So.
Oops, I'm gonna go too far. As far as utility user tax, there are two components that we want to discuss. The first component is modernizations of the current tax code to include internet streaming services. Currently, we don't have enough information to provide projections. And the second component is removal of the current cap of 100,000. We estimate that it will generate about $225 million on an annual basis based on the current refund. And this will allow the city to fully capture the high usage and promote fairness across ratepayer. However, we might risk pushbacks from major employers, and if the measure is rejected, refunds claim may increase and potentially reduce a current utility user tax. Last year, LA County repealed Measure H and replaced it with Measure A, which allows the sales tax rate increase by quarter cents. With the quarter cent currently available, we estimate that it will bring in about $2 million or more annually to unrestricted general fund, based on the current measure-wide framework. Based on CDTFA's data, the taxable sale ranging from low 800 millions that generate 2 millions or mid 900 million that will generate approximately 2.4 millions. And this is for general purpose. It can fund essential city services. And it can also act as a financial buffer during economic downturn. The good thing about sales tax is that it contributes by both resident and visitor. However, it's highly fluctuated. As far as implementation costs, it costs about $90,000 to put this on the ballot. That is the distribution of sales tax. Majority of it go to the state, and with state receiving 7.25%, the 1 cent goes back to the local city. County receive 1.5%, and with the combinations, with the Bradley Burn, the 1% above, and the measure-wide city receive a total of 1 3/4 cents. There is sales tax in gateway cities. Paramount is right there with the other 11 cities that has 10.5% sales tax rate. And above that, we have 5 cities that at 10.75%. Sales tax consists of 42% of the total general funds revenues, which is putting the cities at a very vulnerable position during economic downturn. The city sales tax is highly concentrated with top 3 producers accounted for 21% of the total sales tax. Any change in operations or ownership will impact our sales tax revenues. This is an example of volatility of sales tax. The second quarters of 2025 sales tax data recently provided by HDL, our sales tax consultant. Sales tax decreased by 9.6%. A measure-wide decreased by 8.1%. The combinations total decrease by $432,000 in a single quarter. That is significant to the city's revenue.
Can you go back real quick? Thank you, Lana. I just want to point this out. This is a fresh, hot off the press. This information came to us just late last, or the middle of last week from our HDL consultant. This is really important. This is losing or being down $400,000 in sales tax in one quarter. That's pretty concerning. And it shows you the volatility of sales tax, just as what we have here on the title. But I want to reemphasize sales tax. It's to a point now where we just can't rely on it because of the volatility. And the amount that we rely on it already is just too great. We need a diversified revenue portfolio that would bring us other sources of stable income. So, but this is just an example that we got this. I'm hoping quarter 3, which would be July through August, is not any worse, but we'll see. So.
Partial tax being of 4 options. Revenue potentials for partial tax is $4 million. And currently, based on the LA County assessor's data, we have 4 different type of properties: commercial, industrials, and residentials and vacant properties. And the beauty of the partial tax that we can tax it by type and different rate for different property type, and also allows to a 2% revenue growth annually. However, partial tax is a special tax and it should be restricted for a purpose. City councils it can purpose for public safety, environmental, and infrastructures. So, as mentioned, we can tier differently, have a different type of rates. So in order this will help to avoid overburdening small owners. And again, property tax is stable and predictable. However, it requires 2/3 vote of approval. As far as implementations cost, it costs about $100,000 to put this on the ballot. This is an examples of property tax bill. Based on Prop 13, general tax levies cap at 1%. Of that 1%, City of Paramount generates $56 million. Of that $56 million, the city received $3.7 million, which is equivalent to 6.7%, and the remaining amount go to county and school districts. Last year, Unified School Districts levied $60 per 100,000 of asset values to repay $190 million bond for repair and safety. So this will stay on your property tax bill for as long as the bond is outstanding. If the city councils were to pursue partial tax, this is one of the examples with three categories: commercial, industrials, and vacant properties. An example, commercials properties will pay 10 cents per square foot. A smaller commercial property will pay as little as $38. On average, they pay closer to $2,400. And the maximum, a larger parcel will pay $83,000. That generates approximately $900,000. For an industrials that pay the same rate, a smaller parcel will pay $23. On average, closer to $4,700. And the maximum they pay is $145,000. That generates $2.7 million. A vacant properties with a 12 cents per square foot will pay a minimum of $7 and an average $1,900. And the maximum a vacant property will pay $104,000. That will generate $400,000. Because the same revenues that we're trying to achieve spread out to three categories. So the tax rate is a little bit higher. Here's an examples of when we are spread out to all categories. You can see that the tax rate is a little bit lower. That is an average property tax bill that we was able to collect from our neighbor cities. City of Paramount is still among the lowest taxpayers. And again, the city's shares is 6.7%. It's still low in comparing to some of the other cities that receive a larger portions that has police, fires, and or library services.
Lana, is this average property tax bill include residential and business?
It's residential area.
This is residential only?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is the limited information that we was able to gather for today's purpose.
But do we have the average and a comparison for businesses?
Currently not, but we'll be able to gather that. Let's take a look at how all the various options that can help with our structural deficits narrow down the budget gap. As far as quarter-cent sales tax, the break-even point is 2030. What I mean is that it generates enough revenues to cover to pay us city's expenditure until 2030, and from there on, you start seeing a deficit moving forward. Partial tax, a $4 million model. It will break even by 2034. So what I mean is that the city will be able to cover all costs by 2034. Let's say if City Council would like the various other options, the combination of sales tax, cannabis, and utility user tax will bring us as far as 2032. For the combination of sales tax and $2 million of partial tax model, is take the cities as far as 2034. That is a high-level summary. As far as cannabis utility user tax and quarter-cent sales tax, those are for general purpose. It requires majorities, voter approval, whereas partial tax is a special tax. It requires supermajority of 2/3. That ends my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Oh, I think you got lots of questions. Let me just start
21 minutes.
with one to begin with. What was the amount of revenue that we needed? Was it 3 million? I remember there was a projected amount in the first precinct. 4 million. Okay, who wants to start? Okay, I got two questions ready.
Go ahead.
Okay, my two questions are, if we did a parcel tax on business, can you do a tiered tax? Like you know, this much parcel percentage for industrial, this much for retail, this much for commercial? That's my first question.
Okay, Lana, can you go back, or I have a remote control here somewhere. So, yes, so there is a difference between commercial and industrial. So are you wanting a different, like, say, tier for commercial and a different for industrial?
Yes.
Gotcha. Yes, we can. As you see there, the rate in green, we could lower the rate for commercial and increase the rate for industrial.
Yeah,
That's
'cause
how we would
that's
do it.
what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah.
And so you got retail, industrial, and commercial? Or
Commercial.
commercial and retail go together?
Yeah, that's.
Commercial, retail,
Right.
and industrial, and vacant. Those
Right.
are the three?
Those are the three, correct.
Okay, so if you wanted a certain sales tax amount on industrial, and then
Parcel.
different, huh?
A parcel.
Tax, and a different one for retail, that's possible?
Yes.
That's what you're saying?
Different rate.
Okay, second part of that question is, can you also select parcel tax for certain types of business and none for another? Like if you wanted to tax industrial, but you didn't want to tax retail, could you do that with a parcel tax?
Yes.
Okay, that's my question.
Okay, can I go back to your first, I'm sorry. did anybody else?
No, go ahead.
Can I go back to your first question? Did you mean change the amounts of the rate or tier it? So meaning to say, this is more complicated, year one, we do like a 5 cent tax, year two, 10 cent? Or did
Yeah,
you just say
right.
different?
That's a whole nother question. No, I was
Okay.
just talking about, could you have one rate for retail and one rate for industrial?
Got it.
But that's
Okay.
another question.
Right, I'm just
Yeah, you can structure it in any way you want.
phases.
The way, the thing you want to avoid is having similarly situated businesses, you know, one retail business taxed differently than another retail business. You know, you don't want to cut it too fine where someone's saying, hey, it's not fair that I'm being taxed one rate and somebody else that's doing virtually the same thing is taxed another rate.
Well, but that's
when you-
commercial industrial with two different.
But when you're talking about different uses like
Yeah.
that, entirely different uses, you can structure the tax that way.
And my thought pattern on that is just, like retail, we have a revenue stream from. Industrial, that according to the chart that we saw, uses so much of our resources, you know, our roads and our
Air monitor.
police services for crime. Of course, that could be more on the retail end, I don't know. And then an issue, of course, we have here, the air quality monitoring, you know, that we're spending so much on. And we get no sales tax dollars from them, period, whereas you do get some revenue from retailing.
Right.
So that's why I was asking that, because the industrial base, to me, the way I'm looking and taking what to say, isn't paying their fair share.
Sure.
But retail may be paying at least some portion of their fair
Correct,
share.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
Because I mean, John, actually, you educated us too, the fact that there are some companies here that don't pay any sales tax to us.
That's correct. That's correct.
And is there like a specific type of industry that, is it like space or like,
You mean that does not pay that?
Yeah.
Warehousing, for instance?
any type of
Wholesalers,
Wholesalers don't,
warehousing?
yeah.
distributors?
Distributors, right, exactly.
They're not paying any
We have a lot
tax.
of smaller, like Amazon, not the big Amazon warehouses you would think, but distributors that are subsidiaries, if you will, of Amazon. For instance, behind the substation, there's several of those suites where they're just bringing in boxes, Amazon boxes daily,
Right.
trucks going in and out of there. So that's an example of that use. So
Sure, okay.
And they're not taxed.
Question?
they are not
Tax.
taxed.
They're
There's
not
no
taxed.
sales tax.
There's no sales tax on them now.
Oh, wow. So that's
So
a lot
I-
of money spent.
So that, I'm most interested in the parcel tax and maybe an equitable way to do that. But I'm also very interested in the 1/4% sales tax, and mainly because I don't want the county to come in and sweep it up. Like,
Absolutely.
you know, that vacuum is there right now. And, you know, we've been paying that 1/4% for years.
Right.
It's dropped off shortly because of the Measure H. But I have just no doubts that they're going to, you know, swoop in and find some use for that money. And I think residents are a lot more inclined when they know it's coming directly to us You know, it's not going to go and be parsed out by the county again. That 1/4% would be directly to us. So those are the two that interest me the most.
You're absolutely right, Madam Mayor, we use that in our communications for Measure Y. And it really struck when we had the study groups that we formed, just to get some, bounce off our communications with them. That rang very true, even with people that we had in the focus groups, excuse me, not study groups, but the focus groups. And there were some that were anti-tax, but when we explained to them that there's agencies out there that could come and get this if we don't, get it now. There's AQMD, there's Metro, there's the county, there's all those regional ones, and your sales tax will be gone. In that case, boom, they were just convinced that that's, so you're absolutely right.
Well, the other thing we need to consider, you guys, too, is like even at the federal level with funding, we don't know what's coming down the pipeline, right? We don't know. I mean, even like at the AQMD, we're worried about funding there.
Absolutely.
What's going to happen?
Absolutely.
You know, what's the
Lot
next
of
step?
costs.
We also talked about, too, of why settling with 2? Why can't we go with 3 options? Or just to be more creative, to like,
So I
to,
said, I
you
like
know?
both of those. My only concern is, and so I don't know.
Tell me, what's your
I don't know how you feel about this. But, like, if we need 4 million and we can get there through one source, okay, and then if we do 2 sources, great, we generate more revenue, but we're always going to, like, I think when I asked you this, you said that this revenue might last us like 5 years if we did it.
Right.
And so you know that if the revenue is there, we're going to allocate it. And so now, instead of, like, let's say you have one that's gonna raise 3 million, one is gonna raise 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're $1 million over.
Yeah.
You know we're gonna allocate that million.
sure.
And then in 5 years, now you don't have to come up with the 4 million difference, you gotta come up with the 5 million.
Exactly.
So I don't know if you don't
say by
save
taking it
it,
higher,
you
yeah.
know, and don't tax when you don't need to, even though the enhancement to revenue is nice, only enhance it when you need to, because if the money's there, we're gonna allocate it.
Yeah, but I
allocate it.
but I think too, Peggy, like in a stance of like just kind of where cities are going, in a sense of like to get revenue, like we're not a big city, we don't have a mall, we don't have a car lot, like there's a lot of things that we can't do compared to other cities.
Right.
So even if we were to get that extra million, I mean, that's good for us, right, for a rainy day, you know?
Well,
I
but
mean,
that's just what I'm saying. If you wanted to designate it, that you can't hire more people with it, you can't add additional events, you know, that's what I'm saying. Would it be put up for a rainy day, or like, oh, we have $1 million in the budget, so now it gets allocated, so we'd like to hire this additional person, or we'd like to add this event. It generally doesn't go directly to a rainy day fund, it gets allocated.
And you know what?
do we have to, I mean, I mean, we do a budget and we allocate.
Sure. No, you definitely don't have to allocate. I mean, what we're looking at is just to pay the bills.
Yeah.
The existing bills.
And that's what I'm
also-
saying.
Yeah,
It pays
the sheriff's
bills for
contracts, you
5
know.
years, and then you still have another source to go to if you need it.
Right.
But unnecessary revenue
Right.
may not be the most,
Right, and Madam
thing to do.
Mayor, revenue would have to keep pace with the inflation. That we would have to keep that in the back of my mind. Hey, we got big money, 4 million, but inflation, hey.
that's why they're
that will-
projecting that it would last us about 5 years.
But the thing of it is, you guys
And
think
then you're
about
gonna
it.
need another source of revenue.
Yes.
So we're thinking about 3 different pockets here. We have to think our businesses, we have to think about our residents, you know what I mean? This is like so as I'm saying, if we get creative and try to pull from each,
Yeah.
to make it like one big pot instead of just pulling from parcel, you know, maybe we could, what about the broadband? I mean,
That's something down the pike
I
that we
mean,
are
I'm just,
definitely looking at.
that's an
Yeah,
opportunity,
I mean,
right? I mean, it's
So, yeah, and also.
100K annually.
Yeah, and also there's the streaming thing. I think I mentioned to y'all, and I know this may not be a popular one, but, you know, you used to pay a utility users tax on cable TV and satellite TV. Well, there are many residents that don't have that anymore. They pulled their plug and they do everything
Use the black
streaming.
box.
And streaming is not subject to a utility users
Yeah,
tax
that's
yet.
big.
Unless, and so that's a revenue source that we're
Big
gonna
one.
see go down, so.
The other thing is just too, I think that we have to be realistic in first, the bills have to pass.
Yeah.
These go to a
Sure,
vote
it
before
goes to
the
the vote.
people. And what is going to be palatable to pass, because it costs money to put these on the ballot. And that's another concern I have about multiple taxes,
Sure.
is, you know, why all these sources? And then I've been very outspoken about this, and I really, sales tax to me is something everybody shares. Like I said, we've all been paying. If you figure you go buy $1,000 item, what are you gonna pay, an extra buck at 1/4%? You're gonna pay $1 more, something like that. But the property tax or the parcel tax on residents, I'm totally not in favor of. I think the economy is not good. I think that we are in a position where we have people who are, crying out right now for rent relief. And even if you do it on homeowners, we still have a majority of renters in town, not homeowners. That is going to get passed on to them. And I'm just not into burdening residents any more than they are right now with this current economy.
Yeah, I think we should look at the vacant parcel, because I know there's other cities that are getting creative on vacant lots, that they're increasing
The business parcels?
the vacant ones.
Yeah.
The ones that are vacant. I
Yeah.
mean,
And there's something too, I remember hearing about a vacancy tax.
Yeah, we were looking at an abandoned property ordinance, and that's one thing that we are gonna bring to the council
Is that
probably
what you
by
call
next
it?
month,
'Cause I'm
John?
talking about like vacant commercial and retail space.
Yeah, vacant commercial,
But it's
yeah.
called abandoned?
Abandoned, what is it, John?
We're calling it vacant
Vacant.
and abandoned buildings and properties.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
so that's what we are looking about. Getting back to the variety of taxes, now here's an option that you could consider too. If you just want to focus on the parcel tax, if you want the voters just to kind of concentrate on that, that's an option. And with the sales tax, there could be a measure drafted that says, if there is an attempt by another agency, county, AQMD, Metro,
To
whomever,
protect it.
then if the voters pass it, then we get it. If if the voters were to pass that ordinance that says just that, and in the future, just say 5 years from now, one of those agencies tries to take it, ours would supersede that because it's already.
Definitely think we
yeah.
should do
So
that.
it's like, you aren't taking the money now until
Right.
there's an attempt to take it.
Right.
So, I think West Hollywood recently did that, I want to say. Beverly Hills did it too, so that's another option to consider with the sales tax.
I think we should definitely do that.
Yeah.
We should safeguard that money regardless of which direction we go.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Isabel, can we have some feedback from you?
Yeah, so I'm looking, I mean, this is, anytime there's taxes or anything like that involved. I definitely actually like that option of having that, if another agency tries, then if the voters in the city approve it, then it kicks in and that stays here in Paramount. And yeah, I mean, as far as the residential, I'm completely in agreement with the mayor. And we should look at, the parcel for industrial and the vacant lot thing, definitely something that I would like to see looked at.
Yeah.
So that's,
How about you, Ms. Councilmember Cuellar Stallings? Would you like to
I'm,
give us?
I'm in favor of the partial, the commercial, and the industrial, and the vacant. I really feel that we need this. And also what John mentioned, go ahead and place it on the record that if the county comes, we already have our hands on that money, and they can't come take it away. And I also like the idea of what Brenda said, because I had it on my notes about the broadband. And COG's a big thing right now, that we're trying to work on that right now for our residents and the COG cities. So, but I'm in total agreement with you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I'm going to skip down to Councilmember Delgadillo. Anything else you want to add?
No, I'm supportive of the partial tax, and I'm curious too about the vacant lot, about the revenue from
I think it's vacant buildings.
vacant buildings. Okay, correct. Thank you. But that's all, Madam Mayor. I'm support what we have said. And
So you guys don't want to
there's
do
more
cannabis?
important-
Was that a no?
Well, it's just,
I get it now. No,
Yeah.
for sure. I don't see it.
yeah, it just
I don't
doesn't
see the
seem that the
revenue.
revenue's there is the only reason.
I was hoping another way, to be honest,
Yeah.
for cannabis. I mean,
I think that's probably very true, though. I mean, the statement that Matt made too, that makes perfect sense.
Does, yeah.
Because I remember something came up about the exorbitant that's what it was. They tracked down the cannabis businesses because of the exorbitant light bills.
Yeah.
That's how they were tracking them down, so it is usually expensive, yeah.
Very expensive.
You know, John, can we go to that slide? I think it was like the very last, it kind of gave us like options. I know you're looking at the one, but I'm just, keep going. It had like maybe the summary.
The
I think it was like
table.
the summary table, yeah.
There you go.
Summary identified options. So there's cannabis we talked about, what is it? Is it
Utility.
utility
users
tax, modernize and remove cap, half-cent tax, and the parcel tax. So, I mean, you want to just stick with parcel and not,
Well, I think we should put the 0.25% on there to protect it.
yeah.
But it doesn't give us enough money. The parcel tax gives us enough money, but what
Yes.
I would like to see is if we could meet our revenue needs with a tiered parcel tax.
Tiered,
Because and that would be, for me, the difference between retail and the others that don't pay anything to the city, the wholesale, the manufacturers, the warehousing. That would include 2 storage units.
Absolutely.
You know, all of those things that don't contribute anything, but yet use all of our resources.
Yep.
I would like to look at tiers between those two.
And
got it.
maybe just an education on just those alone, what pays, what doesn't. Have we seen that before?
I don't think
Like, I remember storage units being part of that.
I think we
I-
drafted
I don't recall.
something to that, but we could pull that up for
Point,
sure.
Just to kind of see what buckets they fall in.
It would be based on industry, obviously, no
Right.
names. Yeah, so no names
didn't even think about
for
storage
for
units.
It
for
might be
public
good for us to look at if we could do it percentages, like you have 40% of the businesses that don't pay
Right.
anything.
Yeah.
You know, and you got 30% retail that's paying. I mean, how much of that is, I mean, looking around, that's what I see the majority of, but am
Yeah.
I not seeing it correctly as warehousing, commercial, industrial, you know, that's what I see
Yeah.
the most of, not retail.
And the industrial is very, there's a lot of different industrial. It's everywhere from, metal forging to trucking to food prep, all that's industrial.
And then, just another source of revenue, I don't know if we have to deal with this time, or Mr. City Attorney, if it's the proper time, so I'll start slowly and you cut me off if I shouldn't be talking about this. But are we anywhere with the beer and wine tax for the local swap meet and that they were contesting?
They have not challenged it anymore yet, so we
Okay,
were
so they've
supposed to
dropped
be
that?
meeting with them, but they haven't come around, so we'll
Okay.
see what happens.
Because I started to say, I mean, if that happens and if there's something there, then there's definitely other ways to go about
Sure.
that too.
Okay.
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 Do you guys, I'm going to say what direction we have right now, and please tell me if I get it right. So we would be interested in drafting something for the 0.25% to protect it, in case that comes into play. And we would like more specific information on the parcel tax for businesses, as far as who pays revenue and who doesn't, and what are the percentages of those businesses and of each one in town.
Great, we
Would
can
that-
provide that
Yeah.
information.
Yep.
Yes,
And after
support
that, we can
that.
determine,
And that would help us
determine the
figure it
percentage.
out.
Yes,
Yep.
Okay.
that sounds great.
Okay, we can provide that information. What I'd like to do then, actually is, it sounds like parcel tax, just in general, is what the interest is, as well as the 0.25% protective measure, we'll just call it that for now. I'd like to bring back a contract to conduct polling, because takes time, holidays are coming up, and we got to get that in. So that'll be the next step. And there's not, I don't think they have to ask specifically, we don't have to have a decision yet on the different tiers, and they would just ask the potential voter how they would vote on blah, blah, that's very commonplace. So we'll do that next, and we'll also work on the
Yeah,
different
and I
tiers.
think the only thing is, because I think it's really important for the voters to understand, and I'm not sure that we have any further involvement after that, but when they do ask that tax, a business parcel tax, that it be on, that, how do you feel about charging a parcel tax to businesses who don't generate or contribute any money to the sales tax base of the city. Because people don't like to tax businesses either, but I think that they need to understand these are businesses that are not producing any revenue.
Absolutely.
Or paying their share. So I'd like that to be specific in that survey.
Okay. And in terms of elections, the parcel tax will shoot for the November election. That's what I'm looking at, our finance director here. Okay. No, in
This
November
November?
of 2026.
Oh, yeah. I
Oh,
was
sorry,
gonna say,
I don't
The
think.
sales
they're not
tax.
gonna make it.
Yeah.
Make it, yeah.
The sales tax measure probably
It have to
June.
be on the June.
It would have to be on the
2026.
June. Okay, June of 2026.
In 2026.
The only caveat to that is if the sales tax measure is structured as a special tax, meaning it's funding a specific, funding something specific rather than going into the general fund, it could go on the November 2026.
Oh, so both of them could.
General taxes have to go on an election where city council members are elected,
Okay.
unless the council declares a fiscal
Fiscal
emergency.
emergency.
Say that again?
Emergency. Sorry.
Sorry.
A general tax,
Yeah.
meaning a tax that goes into the general fund and can be used for any purpose,
Right.
has to be placed on a ballot where the city council is up for, at least one member of the city council is up for reelection.
June, elections in June?
Yeah,
Yes,
June.
June 4th.
But what also he's saying, if you designate the money from that tax to go to a special purpose, like say, the quarter-cent sales tax is going to go to pay for
Public safety.
law enforcement or
Okay,
public safety, that can go on the November ballot.
Correct, correct.
If
We
you
have to
designate
designate
But-
what the funding's for.
Right.
That is a special tax, it requires two-thirds vote.
of the people,
Right, so that's the trade-off there.
yeah.
So either we designate an allocation, it doesn't go on the ballot. If we don't designate an allocation, it needs to go on the ballot where council
Yes.
runs in June 6th.
Right, correct.
Okay.
I didn't realize the election was in June.
I thought it was March.
Huh?
I thought it was March.
I thought it was March
Is
too.
it election
It's
in?
in June.
June, election.
June.
We alternate between March and June to correspond with the statewide primary election.
I think that was that new law.
Yeah.
Is it?
Right.
Yeah.
And then the next time we go, it'll be in March,
You're-
correct?
Yes,
Okay, 'cause
yes.
we're
We
alternating.
alternate between March
it.
and June. So we elect 3 in March, and we just did, and then
Yeah.
we'll elect 2
In
in
June.
June.
And
And
then
then it'll go
3 in
3,
March.
2, 3, 2.
Thank you, State of California.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, we have direction.
Okay.
Okay, so we can adjourn. You're good. You're
Yes, ma'am.
good. We'll adjourn this meeting.
To 45 minutes from now.
Says to October 14, oh, because we're going to go into the other one. October 14, 6 o'clock, City Council Chamber meeting.